Okay, thanks, Michael. That was a great presentation. And the one that I have is more about flows. Again, I think in yours, I saw a little bit of flow, but this is very much flow heavy. So if you are not very familiar with flows, that is fine because we have full documentation on it. And flows are not that scary as they seem sometimes. There is a lot of resources these days. So I'll just share my screen. Okay, let's start. I'm going to present file solutioning in Salesforce, and I'm going to use our app CloudFiles for this. It's on App Exchange. It's been around for 6 months. We've gotten great reviews. But basically, rather than promoting the app here as such, I'm going to talk about the use cases that admins generally come across and how you can solve them, right? So first thing, we are going to be use CloudFiles in here, but basically all of these can also be done by using Apex code and setting up your flows at much lower level. But again, it just becomes much easier to do things with CloudFiles. So I'm gonna discuss the features that the app has, then some of the use cases, which is going to be the major part of this presentation, and then finally the resources. In this presentation, I'm going to heavily use SharePoint for my demo, but exactly like SharePoint, everything else also works, which is Google Drive, Box, OneDrive, Dropbox, AWS S3. And we also offer a free unlimited storage, right? So when I say SharePoint, and if you think, does it work with Google Drive? It does, and exactly the same way. Okay, moving on. So some of the features of the app, it enables you to connect your external file storage, let's say SharePoint, with Salesforce. So you don't have to use Salesforce's own storage. You can use it exactly the same user experience, but keep your files outside of Salesforce. It also enables you easy access to all the files stored outside of Salesforce, sharing them with customers, seeing the analytics on if the customers are looking at them or not, and then automations. So the first thing is using CloudFiles as a file connector. So I'm going to open this up in the account section. This works everywhere. So any standard or custom object. It's a simple Lightning Web component that you can insert. It also does work in Classic, but we hardly see those Classic orgs these days. Okay, so what I've done here, this is an account, and I have connected this with a SharePoint folder in the background. How did I do that? So basically, I'm just going to show that in the another account. So let's take this one. So when you first open up the account record where CloudFiles is not connected to a SharePoint folder or any other folder, it shows this button, which you can click, and it's going to list all your storages. You can selectively disable some of them, and let's say just leave SharePoint on in your use case. And then, you can browse through, you can select the folder you want to connect here. And then, it just gets synced. It gets basically mirrored in Salesforce. So whatever you upload here goes to your SharePoint. Whatever you upload in SharePoint comes here instantly. This is a two-way sync, right? This is a rather improved version of Salesforce's own notes and files, notes and attachment section, because you can do folders here. You can, share files using with experienced cloud users. I think Kevin has a question. Kevin?
Yes, thank you. I have to leave really early at 1 o'clock, but I do have one quick question.
Yep.
So this file tab that you've created, is it a special type of page? Like, I didn't know that you could bring SharePoint in. This is something I'd love to do.
Yeah. So it's not a special tab. It's very simple, like how you do the details in the news tab here. But you have to install CloudFiles. And once you do that, you just create this files tab. And after you install CloudFiles, you get a special component called CloudFiles in your page editor, which you
Got
just
it.
drag, and that's going to give you everything. Yeah.
Okay. So
Okay.
you're saying you need to have CloudFiles? Is that the
Yep.
product? Okay, great.
Yes.
I'm sorry I have to cut out, but anyways, I'll listen to this recording.
Cool. Thanks, Kevin. Also, in between, you can raise your hand and ask questions. And if you just want to type it in the chat. So Sid is here with me. He will answer them as well. Okay, so moving on. On this visit, there are a bunch of features. So you can see the preview of the file right here. And this supports any kind of file type, docx, PPT, even videos. So you can click on that and it would instantly load it here. And you can see the file here in real time. The file is actually in your SharePoint. It's not in your Salesforce. So, if you're running into Salesforce storage issue, and if it's like, running out of Salesforce storage, you can use this. You can download the file, you can replace it also, you can share it. And then there's one feature, you can open it in the connected storage. So let's say if it was editable file, you could just simply click open in SharePoint and you could just, open it there. It would open the editor, you could edit it, and instantly the edits are synced because the file is actually in SharePoint, right? Also, if you want to jump to the folder directly, you can click here and it would take you to that folder. Now, this is a two-way sync. So I'm just going to show the sync a little bit here. So I will upload a file here. You can drag and drop. And now you see this is directly going into SharePoint. It is not using any of the Salesforce storage. So one advantage is that it saves you the storage. Another is that not all your customers are in Salesforce. All the users from your customer's company, the ones who are in SharePoint can see the files here also. For example, the legals team generally is not in Salesforce, so they can see it here. It's two ways, so you can also just put in files here and it would instantly sync as well. So this is uploaded, and if I go here and refresh this, you would see the file here, right? So this was the connector part of it. Again, you can also create subfolders inside it, which you cannot do in Salesforce's notes and attachment. You can search also, and this also search in the file text. So this is a pretty strong search. In case of SharePoint, you can also do custom columns. So SharePoint has a field where you can create custom columns on files. So you can select those here and actually choose that which folder should be shown or not, and you can edit it from here. This also supports grid view. So basically, if you want to have a quick look, this doesn't have as many options as the list view does, but it's good for a quick glance. So I'm just gonna switch it back to the list view, and we'll move to other features. So the next one is sharing. What sharing is, so let's say I have gotten this file, and so there are two kinds of sharing that you can potentially need to do. One is to share with the community users, which is Experience Cloud users. Very simple in that case, just like we have put in this Lightning Web component here on the account page, we can also put it in the Experience Cloud site, and it works exactly the same. What is more interesting is sharing files with customers who are not in Salesforce or in Salesforce Experience Cloud. So you can simply just hit the share button. And this is going to give you a CloudFiles link. Now, even if the file is in SharePoint, this is not a SharePoint link. This is a CloudFiles link. Now, why do we create CloudFiles link and not the actual SharePoint link? Because it gives you a lot more features than the SharePoint link would have given. First thing is that you can add expiry settings to it. So you can expire the link after certain views or after certain date and time, so that even if you have shared it and if you want to take it down, you can. The security settings, for example, you can add a password, you can ask people to enter their email, or you can also restrict it based on the email, that who should be able to access it, or the domains, that which company domains people should be able to access this. Now, what your customers see, so once you share this link with customers, here I enabled the email wall, so you have to enter the email, but this is totally up to you how you do it. And your customers don't need to log in into anything, and they can simply see this in the browser itself. They don't even have to download the file. I have disabled the download here, otherwise there could have been a download button also. Let me try enabling that and see how this changes. Okay, so if I go back, it comes instantly for all the customers. They can download the file now. At the same time, so this is CloudFiles viewer, and you can actually do, there are lots of features on this. One more thing, so you can completely white label this experience. You can put in your own logo. You can change this to your own URL with a little bit of setup, so that your customers won't know that this is CloudFiles. This is exactly how it would look like a very it will show your brand very properly. Now, coming back to the file sharing in Salesforce. So once you share this, you can also see the analytics of it. And this is going to tell you that who is looking at your files, how much time they're spending on each page of the file. And then, you can drill down into these sessions. So you can use it for analytics purpose, or you can use it for audit trail purpose. And this is also, it's completely optional. So you can also disable this tracking, and, then it won't show any data.
Vishesh,
So
can I ask you a quick question on this? Is this showing us people who are accessing the file through Salesforce or through SharePoint?
Not through Salesforce, not through SharePoint, through the CloudFiles link. So we created this CloudFiles link and we shared it with customers, right? So generally, generally this would be very helpful for people who are sharing proposals with customers, and salespeople want to know that did my customer actually, or potential customer actually, looked at the proposal? Did they forwarded it to other people and I also got other views or not? So this is helpful in those cases, right? So that was sharing. Just like I shared one single file, you can also share multiple files or a folder, and that also works. Now, the analytics I've already covered here. The last one, which is more important, and this is what I'm gonna base this session mostly on, which is automation. So basically, we have a lot of flow actions that you can use to create solutions to the use cases that I will cover in this presentation. So this would be more clear when I show you some examples of it. And last one, we also have platform events. So when I showed you this, when I uploaded a file here, there is a platform event that we publish in Salesforce called file uploaded. And similarly, for every other action, there is a platform event. You update a field here in SharePoint, that's going to publish a platform event that the field is updated, and so many. So based on that, you can again, trigger flows on that. One very common example of this is that some people say, okay, my customers are still going to upload files in the file section or notes and attachment. Can you automatically move them to SharePoint? So that can be done based on the platform event, because as soon as a file is uploaded in Salesforce, we would publish a platform event on which you can put the triggers. Now, coming back to these automations and use cases. So a very first use case is that I showed you how you select a file or a folder when it's not connected, but your customers are going to ask, can you do this automatically? So let's say I create an account. Can you automatically create this folder in SharePoint and connect it to the account? And this can again, get more complex, where people say, can you also create these subfolders inside it based on the account type? Can you do this structure versus that structure? So I'm going to create an account here. And what this is doing in the background, it's running a Salesforce flow, which I'll very quickly show after this. And it's creating one folder in SharePoint. Inside it, it's creating 2 more folders and then connecting it here. So you see, as soon as the account is created, this is done for me. I can actually check this in SharePoint and upload files. So this is customers won't have to manually do it. And also admins then can enforce a structure, and this is very good for the organization, right? How did this work? I will jump into the flow and show you how it's being done. And in this presentation, all the use cases that I'm showing, you don't have to write a single line of Apex code for this. Everything can be done through flow builders. So let's pick up the one that I've set up on the account creation. So ignore this big if else conditions, because sometimes I do this demo with SharePoint, sometimes with Google. So you can completely ignore that. But what we are doing here is the very first thing. Once you install CloudFiles, you're going to get these CloudFiles actions in your flow builder that you can use. And this is a create folder action, and it takes a bunch of parameters, which you can get from other place, which I can show later. Or you can read this from the properties of the record. So for example, the folder that I created for the account, I want to call it, I want to name it same as the account's name. So you can use record.name. You can use formula fields here or anything. specify the library, which in my case is a variable, but you can just say SharePoint if you're only using SharePoint, and the parent folder ID, which is going to be the parent folder under which we are creating these folders. So I create that folder. After that, I create the context folder. So again, the same create folder action, but this time instead of the parent folder ID, I give the ID from the previous folder create action, right? So that it goes inside it. And you can use this structure to create any kind of nesting. So once you create this, in the end, we just use another action called create attachment, and we attach this folder to the account. Now, the documentation for all of this is available on our documentation site. But like if you have a use case, we also can sit with you on the call and generally help people set these flow. So that was one use case. Then the other one that I have is the nested folders that I just showed. We created contacts and opportunities in the main account folder. Now, sometimes it's not possible for you to already know which folders to be created. And the requirement is that customer is going to create a template. And inside that, they're going to create as many folders. And can you just clone that while creating a new folder? So again, this is a simple flow where I've set this up on campaign object, and based on the type of the campaign, we are going to pick up a template and then use that to set up our folders, right? So I'm going to go to the campaigns here. I'll create a new campaign of the type email. And when I do that, so again, what it's doing based on the campaign type, it's looking into my SharePoint, which I've already defined in the flows, and taking up a template folder and just cloning it for this campaign. So since this was the email campaign, it created a folder in my SharePoint, and it has subfolders, email list, status folder, unsubscribe list. This is again, like, if you change the template, you don't have to change anything in your flow, because it's going to take the parent template and just clone it. Now we'll do one more campaign here, which is going to be the SMS campaign, for example. And this time we will select the type as telemarketing, and it's going to pick up another template instead of the email one. It takes about a second, so I will refresh this. And now you see it has actually created another folder from another template, which has phone numbers, scripts, and the status folder was common in my template. So that's how, like, you can actually select based on the template. We'll move to the next use case, which comes a lot, which is auto transferring of email attachment. So the use case here is that I have email to case enabled in my Salesforce. Email comes that creates a case in my Salesforce, but it also has attachments. I want to move these attachments into my SharePoint or into my Google Drive. So I've set up a flow. I'll get into the details of that. But before that, let me send an email to my Salesforce. And I will attach a file here. Let's take this one. Okay. So while this is actually transferring the file, this takes about a minute. I will discuss the flow that is doing this. This is the flow I have set up. What this flow does, that it's on the email message create. As soon as the email message is created, we get the attachments. This is pretty simple. So I'm using standard get records action of Salesforce. That's going to get any related files from that email. Files internally in Salesforce are called content documents. So it's just getting them. Then there's a CloudFiles section, which is getting the case folder. So email is going to create a case, and CloudFiles is going to create a folder for it in SharePoint and connect it. Now, if let's say you are sending a email to the existing case, then the case folder will already be there, and that's why we are first trying to get the existing folder. If it's not there, then we create a new one. If it's there, then we just use that. After that, for each email attachment object, we create a list of IDs, and we use a CloudFiles section called copy attachments. And this is going to copy the files, email attachments to your external folder. So let's go see if it worked.
Yeah, before you go, just want to address that this is running asynchronously, just for
Yes,
audience.
yes,
Can
yes.
you talk about it? Why?
So all of these flows run asynchronously, and the reason for that is we don't want to block anything. So for example, if an email came and if it's creating a case, we don't want it to block anything while it's transferring the attachments, because that thing might take time. We also don't want to hit governor limits in Salesforce, right? So that's why we run all of them asynchronously.
Thank you.
Okay. Okay, so let's go back to the cases and let's see if it created a case for us. Yep, this is the one. So this is the files tab, and this using our flow, it created a folder in SharePoint. And let's say if it moved the files, so it did, right? The email attachment was this, and it automatically moved it. You can also check it in SharePoint. This use case comes so much, and people are writing Apex all the time for this, but using CloudFiles flows, you can just simply do it using clicks, right? So that was about moving the email attachments. This one, again, a very common use case. So I initially mentioned that some people don't want to upload files into the tab that we created. They would say that, hey, we are still going to upload our files in the notes and attachments. Now, why would people do that most of the times is sometimes they're not manually uploading it. The files might be coming from Conga Composer or from DocuSign, from SDocs, and now you want to move them to, somewhere else, to SharePoint, for example. So let me upload a file here, and I'm going to take this one. Let's see if it's already not there. So you see, we don't have any file here, but I'm going to upload the file in notes and attachment section. I have a flow in the backend that is running as soon as the file is attached. And this is where the platform events are being used. So as soon as this file is uploaded to Salesforce, CloudFiles publishes a platform event called Salesforce file has been uploaded. Based on that, we run this flow that is automatically going to copy this file into SharePoint. Now, while this is doing that, again, all the file copy operations take about a minute. I'll talk about one more very, very complex or common Salesforce, not common, a little bit complex feature of Salesforce, which is called File Connect. So the File Connect is again used to connect your external storages to Salesforce. Now you would say, what is different about CloudFiles? So two things. One is that in File Connect, you cannot use it in Apex or flows. Basically, you don't have any control over it. This is what File Connect looks like. You can bring in files from your connected sources into Salesforce. And you can only bring in, you cannot upload files from Salesforce into connected sources. So that is a huge limitation of it. And the second one, it's not available for you to control either in Apex or in flows, right? If you bring in a file from SharePoint using File Connect, what it actually does, that the file is still staying in SharePoint, but you've created a Salesforce file out of it, which is just a link. It saves storage in Salesforce. That's the major use case. But limitations being that you cannot upload and you cannot control it, right? So CloudFiles extends File Connect using a flow, and that is our next feature, that once we copy the file into SharePoint, so as soon as you uploaded the file, our flow will copy it to SharePoint. We can also create a File Connect link out of the file, and we can delete the original file from Salesforce. So to the end user, it looks like the file was actually uploaded through File Connect, but there were two flows in the work here. And what it does for us, it saves us from using Salesforce storage, which can get expensive, right? So you see right now it's a physical file inside Salesforce uploaded in the Files tab. If I refresh the page, two things will happen. One is this file will be copied to SharePoint, and secondly, it would convert into a File Connect link. So you see, now you see a little SharePoint icon here. So the file is actually not in Salesforce now. It was copied to SharePoint using CloudFiles, and then we created a File Connect link of the file, and we deleted the original Salesforce file, giving the experience as if the File Connect supported upload as well, right? And going back to the Files tab here, the file obviously has automatically been moved to SharePoint, so you can see this here, right? This is very useful when other tools like Conga Composer, DocuSign, etc. are creating these files. which won't directly upload it into SharePoint or into CloudFiles widget. They're going to put that in Salesforce, but you can move these around, getting the same functionality, right? Okay, so moving on the next one. I do know that some of these use cases might get complex, but I'll answer most of the questions at the end of this session. Or otherwise, like, there is a lot of documentation we have written about it, where, this is very clearly explained. Okay, so one more use case based on the platform event, that I upload a file to my opportunity. And if I set it as proposal, if I specify in some way that it is proposal, can you automatically update the status of the opportunity to value proposition? So again, a flow based on the platform event. So let's take this opportunity. This is already on value proposition, so I'm going to change it back to prospecting. And what we do is we will just upload a file here. And since this is using SharePoint, SharePoint has custom columns. So I have used that to specify that this is proposal. But if you are using Google Drive or any other storage, and if you don't want to use the custom columns, you can identify a proposal in different ways. For example, based on the file name, you can say it is proposal only if it has the word proposal in its name, or any other condition that is, that fits your use case. But what I'm going to do here is just change the status here to proposal and save it. This is obviously changing the column in SharePoint. But if I refresh the page, I should see the opportunity state change to value proposition. So you see, it does exactly that. This is a quite simple flow. So let me show you how this is working. So as soon as you update the column, update the SharePoint column here in the CloudFiles widget, we publish a platform event called CloudFiles event, which has a type that the file is updated. So we are just putting a decision element here that if our type of the event is resource updated and if it's on the opportunity. And all these are available in the event details. After that, we get more details about the event and we get the asset type. So asset type is the column name, which is specifying whether it's proposal or not. So again, a CloudFiles action that can get you any resource property. So put in the property name and you put in the resource from our event. And then we see if it is proposal. So that's again a decision element. And we say if it is proposal. In that case, we just set the opportunity stage using the standard Salesforce update. So pretty simple setup there, right? That solves that use case. Again, these might not be the real world use case, but basically it would give you an idea that how to stitch these together to build a bigger file solutioning implementation, right? The last one is the community file sharing. I don't have a demo ready for this, but basically just like this is the internal view of CloudFiles in your Salesforce. It works exactly the same in Experience Cloud. So this is in the screenshot, you can see that, it's kind of the similar view. You see these buttons, upload file, new folder, these all can be controlled using permission sets. So you can, for external users, let's say you can disable new folder if you want to. We do have standard permission sets, but you can also mix and match the granular permissions to create your own. I'll get into one more use case that is used to collect files from customers. So there's some industries, for example, insurance industry, where companies have to accept a lot of files from their customers. Now, currently, how that happens is customers, they're going to email to the customer that send us your files. Customer will send them file in the emails. That can be multiple emails. They'll manually download it, and then they manually have to put it in the right places in their storage, SharePoint, Google Drive, or Salesforce itself, and then link them. So that's a lot of manual process, and that's why the organization never happens. And you also miss out on a lot of documents. So I'm going to show that here on the work orders object. So I'll create a new work order. And I have a flow setup in the backend. First thing it does, as soon as a work order is created, it creates a folder in SharePoint for this work order, and it connects it here. So this is the empty folder right now. And what we want that customers send us file, which should eventually come here. Currently, they send us the email and then the files come. We manually download those files and upload them. What CloudFiles is also doing is creating a file collection link, and I'm saving it in a custom field. Okay, this takes a little bit of time to create. Let's see. Okay, I've gotten a link. So again, this is CloudFiles link. This can be white labeled. You can also automatically email it to customer because it is part of a flow. And this is what customers see. I've also added a email wall here, but that is up to you based on the link settings. Customers see this. The look and feel of this can be completely customized. You can put in your own logo, your own colors, banner, and everything. Now, as a customer, I'm uploading a file here. Let's take this one. And you can upload multiple files too. So let's put in one more. And they can also later on come to this link and upload more. Right now, customers have uploaded the file. What should automatically happen is that I should see these files here. So you see both the files have automatically come here. There are no emails involved here except sending that link. And the organization is taken care of for you automatically. One more thing that I've seen a lot of use cases. People use it as a checklist. So let's say you are an insurance company. You need to collect 5 type of documents. You create this data room in a way that it tells you that what 5 documents you have to upload. And let's say customer only uploaded 3. You can put a flow that can run every day, for example, and see if all the files are received or not. And if not, then it can send a reminder email to upload the rest of them. And when all of them are uploaded, it can move the work order to next stage, right? So again, those use cases can be built just using the flows. You don't have to write code for that. Yeah, so that is all the use cases. I will open it up to questions very soon, but a couple of more things. All these flows are not like, they're not very hard to set up, but they do require some knowledge on the flows and also a lot of documentation. So that is available in our knowledge base. We also do one-on-one implementation calls. So if you have any use case, you can talk to us. We listen to a use case and we set it up on the call. For the Salesforce partners and Salesforce consultants who are partnering with us, we also have an offer for them, which is unlimited CloudFiles license on our highest plan. So you can just simply, So you can just simply email us. You can, first of all, you can install CloudFiles from App Exchange. It starts you off on a 14 days free trial where you can use everything. And as a Salesforce partner, you can just email us and ask us for the free enterprise licenses for your internal use case. So that is about it. Let me see if I missed anything. All the resources, this is the knowledge base where you can see all the flow actions, all the features, all the quick start guides. You can always just book a call with us if you have a use case in mind, and we can help you set that up. So that is it.
Vishesh, that was excellent. That was there's a lot there.
Yes, it was great.
Quite a robust product for sure. So I wanted to say thank you. I just want to kick it off with one question with pricing. What is your pricing, and is there a discount for nonprofits?
Yes, there is 50% discount for nonprofits, and the pricing is actually public on our website. So it depends on number of users, and users are Salesforce users who would be interacting with CloudFiles. It is per user per month, but if the number of users increase, the per user per month for each user decreases. So the 3 plans, I'll tell you the difference between these, but the pro plan, let's say for 50 Salesforce users, is going to cost $8 per user per month. On business plan, for 100 users is going to cost $12 per user per month. On enterprise, it's a little bit more expensive than that, about 30%, I guess. The difference. On the pro plan, you can do everything that I showed you except creating that CloudFiles link. So basically, you cannot share files with customer. You can obviously interact with your storage. So say SharePoint, use the automation, everything. But when it comes to these CloudFiles links where you share the files or receive the files, You cannot do that on the Pro plan. On the business plan, you can do that. You can create those links, but you cannot remove the CloudFiles logo from these links. And on the enterprise plan, you can fully white label it. So you have all the features and you can put in your own brand. That's the difference.
Excellent. Thank you.
Yeah.
Other questions?
I have a question. So first of all, I want to say, I mean, thank you. 50% nonprofit discount is fantastic. Is the document sharing link, do you have to be coming from a record? Here's the use case I'm thinking of. A client wants to do an application form, which they would normally do a form assembly form. Obviously, they could do the file uploader, which would push it into Salesforce, and then it would automatically go through CloudFiles. But would it be possible to like embed a link to the form where they went to CloudFiles and just uploaded them there instead of through form assembly? Is that use case possible?
Yes. So see, there are two ways to do this. If you are creating a personalized form link for each customer, then this is like, it comes in the record context. But if not that, CloudFiles has also gotten another UI outside of Salesforce. So it's not a pure native product. It's a hybrid product. So everything is exposed through Salesforce, but there is other way where you can access this. So let me quickly show you that. And this is where, you can create these links. So for example, what we used for collecting files is called a data room, which we automatically created using flows, but you can create this here. And, let me just take a banner here. And this is the data room link. Now you can create it using the API or in Salesforce. If you're working it through Salesforce, you can make the Apex callouts to do this. We are also going to bring this UI also inside Salesforce. So in Salesforce, I forgot to show one CloudFiles section. So once you install this, you also get, okay, just a second. Yep, you also get CloudFiles app, where you are going to very soon, you're going to see everything that I just showed outside of Salesforce would also come in here. Right now, what it has is the setup. You're going to toggle something off, and it has the content library where you can actually browse the files in your external storage. Why this is important? Because when you set up the flows, sometimes you need the IDs of the folders. For example, to set up the parent folder ID, so you can see these here, right? But we are going to bring in data rooms here very soon. So you can create them here manually or through Apex or through API.
Oh, thank you.
Okay. Cool. Any more questions?
Okay. I don't think we do. Thank you very much, Vishesh, for this presentation, and Michael for joining us today. It was fantastic. Lots of good material. I can't wait to share it with the wider world once we get this published. So, yeah.
Thanks, Andy.
All right. I think I'll stop the recording at this point. Thanks again.